Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to FItaurus Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef FItaurus. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday. And on the menu for this Saturday, we have Prehistoric Isle in 1930! An SNK classic from 1989. What kind of taste will this arcade shoot 'em up have? Let's get cooking and find out. Starting the game, we get a quick glimpse of the game's story. Basically, we're investigating the Bermuda Triangle, where lots of ships and planes have disappeared. Upon investigating the Bermuda Triangle, we find this uncharted island, which we title Green Hell Isle. Launching our biplanes to investigate the island, we discover dinosaurs. So, I'm assuming we're running on the intent that these dinosaurs are hostile and must be destroyed. Because isn't that the way that we investigate everything in this world? It's an unknown, destroy it. So we're going and flying our awesome 1930s biplane, which itself is equipped with a pretty decent machine gun. But in addition to the machine gun, we can also collect power-ups, which go and give us some special abilities, specifically our pod. But the other items we can get from the power-ups, which are eggs that happen to be floating by, are speed, which is symbolized by this S here, points, symbolized by a money sign, and of course there's the pod, which is symbolized by P. There are also a few other items that can sometimes be inside the eggs, but they're not very common. Our pod is really special and awesome. It can be positioned in any of the 8 directions around us: forward, backward, above, below, and at the diagonals. And based off its position, it has a different effect. Directly in front of our biplane, it turns our main shot into this awesome fire shot. Behind us, we drop aerial mines. At an upward angle, we're firing fireballs at a 45. And these fireballs will also bounce off of walls. And below us, at the 45s, we drop powerful bombs on the enemies. There's also above and below where we fire a wave of fire that rebounds off of the ground or the ceiling if we happen to be firing up. Here we find ourselves at our first boss, Brachiosaurus. Length 116 feet, weight 150 tons. The game does have some great little animations, which I'll show you right here. If the Brachiosaurus happens to grab you, you see your plane getting devoured and then discarded. But we do get our revenge by blowing his head off. And he explodes. Kind of a terrible way to die, really. Moving on to the rest of Stage 1. We continue to encounter all of these pterodactyls. And a few other dinos and insects, as well as those crazy Neanderthals that we saw earlier. But especially if they're in cahoots with dinosaurs, Neanderthals cannot be trusted. Hopefully a feature I don't have to go and show, but another ability of our pod is it can absorb damage. But once it's taken too much damage, the pod will be destroyed and will be without our offense. Here we have the second boss of the first stage, Allosaurus. This guy's got some serious moves. On to Inquiry 2, Airborne. Here we find ourselves flying above Green Hell Island to get to another section of the island. Neanderthals on bats. Yes, there was me accidentally crashing into one of the eggs. If they're not fully open, crashing into an egg will kill you. I wish that wasn't the case, but as you start to go and shoot them and they're cracked, it almost feels we should be able to get the item without going and dying. I have no idea how to pronounce this guy's name, but his length is 100 feet and he weighs 1 ton. Now here's a great example of where the pod can be used to absorb damage, but unfortunately I took a little bit too much. And I've lost my buddy, the pod. That tornado itself won't kill us, but it does usually grab us and send us right into the reaches of our enemy here. Like whatever his name is, it starts with an R and weighs 1 ton. After a prolonged aerial battle, he also blows up, and we're on to our third inquiry, on the ground. So with that, we've already seen 2 of the stages that Prehistoric Isle has to offer. And that's one of the issues that I do have with this particular title, is it's very short, with only 5 stages total. Fine for an arcade title, I assume, but still, with so many more meaty shoot-'em-ups out there, it's a little unfulfilling. That's my biggest minus flavor for Prehistoric Isle, is just the relative shortness of the title itself. It does also suffer from having a rather high arcade level difficulty, where they're going to kill you no matter what. Really, without a rapid fire controller, the game itself is, I wouldn't say impossible, because it is an arcade title. You can just continue to dump quarters into the machine, be it actual arcade cabinet, or in the case of the system I'm playing it on, the PSN version. We just hit triangle and BAM! Credits. Another minor complaint that I have with Prehistoric Isle is there's a lack of variety to the enemies. At this point, we've seen most of what the game has to offer, with the exception of some of the bosses. And here we go and face our mid-boss of Stage 3, the Unknown Dinosaur. Really, it looks like some sort of mutated giant whale. It's really weird. But at least it's a nice original boss. For the plus flavors, though, really, you only need the one. The premise. A game where you're fighting dinosaurs with a biplane. What more could you ask for? That and the graphics are really colorful, and the dinosaurs are interestingly drawn in most situations. And there you are. Prehistoric Isle cooked for your enjoyment. If you do like what you see, then it's an easy enough title to obtain, being available as a PSN Mini, playable on the PlayStation 3 and the PSP. So definitely check it out that way, or if you happen to find yourself an arcade cabinet or an arcade board of it, even better. Well, that'll just about wrap it up for this episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday. As always, I want to thank you so much for joining me, And I hope to see you again next week.